What happened? What happened to
What
the
happened,
tire?
Betty?
Oh man, it's been a long day. I get it. I understand, man. I understand. But it's okay. There's one thing we can all agree on is
Next week.
there's one thing we can all agree on is a la Madrid, right? Where's all right,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, we
All
can.
right, right. Wrong show. Wrong.
We'll kiss the
You
badge.
might as well do it, bitch.
I mean, if we're going in, we can do both shows at once. If it avoids
Oh,
talking about McLaren, I'm good.
Manny doesn't have time. Manny doesn't have time. Oh man, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Hitting the Apex here on the your Formula One show for 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you follow us at F1_5 Reasons on Twitter. Check us out on the YouTube channel, 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Smash the like button, subscribe, and make sure you get all the great F1 content that we will be bringing to you there every Wednesday night at 9:30. We weren't on last Sunday for obvious reasons. No Grand Prix, no racing. However, we're here now. We've got a really great race coming up now. It's the Australian GP. We've got a couple racers, well, at least one racer back, as Sebastian Vettel looks like he is going to be ready to go this year. This weekend, no Nico Hulkenberg, thank God. And I think it's going to be an interesting race altogether. Oh, and look at that, Jack Daniels! Happy birthday to Gunther Steiner. Yes, absolutely. I think we all love.
Avocado.
We all love Gunther, right?
Everyone loves Gunther.
Yeah, it's hard
Oh,
not to.
he's great. Yeah, I love Jack.
He's amazing. Vish, Manny, Nick, thank you guys for joining us on the show. Listen, I think we should definitely get it started with the Australian GP. You know, it's a nice race. I think we're talking about 58 laps. Some changes have been made this year, right? And I know we'll pull up that map in a little bit on what the circuit looks like now. But talk to me a little bit of how you look. This is supposed to be a good race. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. This is supposed to be a really good race for Red Bull. I think they've done well in the past, and they're probably going to do well again this year in this race. But talk to me a little bit about how you guys feel about the Australian GP. Is it, does it benefit certain teams more than others, and what can you guys expect from this actual race this weekend? And we'll start with you, Vish.
Yeah, I think the reason, so it's kind of interesting because this was always the first race.
Right.
So it was always more about seeing the cars for the first time than the track itself. This is the first time where we've seen the cars for a couple of races, and now we're looking at the tracks. That's a little bit different. I do agree it looks like a Red Bull track based on this year's Red Bull because they've had the best kind of top end speed.
Right.
And Jack Jones just threw this in the chat, but taking out one of the chicanes and putting in, oh, here we go right there. Really between turns 9 and 10 is the biggest thing I'm looking at. Getting rid of what was a fairly slow S turn there and go into a straight. That's just going to emphasize the power again, and so I think it becomes even more of a Red Bull track with those changes. So you would expect them to do well, but I mean we expected them to dominate the first two races, and they did not. Like they won the second one by less than a second, and the first one they obviously both blew up. But Vettel, Vettel. Went back to my Red Bull from 10 years ago. Jeez, Verstappen was not going to win that race anyway. He was settling for second. So I think Ferrari will have something for them too. But yeah, overall I would say this is probably looks to favor what we know of the cars so far. Looks to favor Red Bull.
Yeah, Manny, how do you feel?
I think what Vish said was actually once again, like spot on, right? I mean, I like not much that I can add besides, again, those turns 9 and 10 and an extra DRS there. And then you basically, we all know that Red Bull succeeds on tracks like this, and we've seen it already throughout the first two races. I guess the more common question will be, is Ferrari going to be able to keep up with them? And we know the answer is yes, but for how long can they sustain that type of pressure on them? Now, I've looked back at Max Verstappen's records, actually, his last 5 Australian Grand Prix results, okay? And, he's been in 3rd, 6th, 5th.
Yeah, he's declined, right? Steadily declined.
And did not finish. Yes. So, can that be a surprise for this upcoming weekend? I don't think so. I think once you become a champion, there's a little bit more of a, not an ego, but it's hard for me to think that he won't not finish that podium. But however, his teammate, Mr. Perez, has proven and shown that he at times can have the quickest car, the fastest one, and the strongest one. So if he's up there and Max, we all know that Max loves to drive hard, right? Like he's going to go at once again. He's going to find Leclerc or Sainz, and he's going to go one-on-one with them, and he's going to push it. But I think for this race or this particular situation, I think Perez might be half a step ahead of Max, just because I've seen his car actually, it's the misunfortunate of the last race where he got the bad stoppage and whatnot. But, and quite honestly, I think Sergio Perez's car is the one that might outlast Max, and he might actually be faster than him in this particular track. But as you guys see right here, so the changes basically is what's in purple, right? And I think Bish, he just nailed it. Like 9 and 10 was a quick, sharp turn at 90 degrees. And now all of a sudden it's a straightforward side, it's not 90 degrees, but it's totally perfect for DRS passing and whatnot. And then, for that little quick turn down the straightaway to 11 and 12 all the way to 13. I mean, damn. I mean, that right there spells Red Bull all over the place.
And now 13 is a sharp 90-degree turn now. So, and I know they've widened some of these turns here, but Nick, that's what I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about is how you feel about the changes, but if you feel like it could possibly
that is a great point though.
This track has new asphalt, so Red Bull won't have the tire degradation like previous races. Yeah. Look, how important? Okay, put it this way: since we all kind of know that Red Bull might have the upper hand in a race like this at this track, Nick, how important is it for, let's say, Ferrari, Mercedes, whoever it is, to kind of sit on pole, all right, to get the pole to be able to compete and be able to stick around with Red Bull this weekend?
Well, the past couple of races, it's been proven that Ferrari and Red Bull are obviously going head to head. And I feel like that's going to be how it is going forward throughout the season. So I really think Ferrari needs to step up after not getting pole this week by only like thousandths of a second. I think if Leclerc or Sainz can still have similar performances in qualifying, and one of them is able to come out on top, then I think they would be able to control the race at least for the first half, and then anything goes after that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Speaking of that, what Jack just mentioned regarding tire degradation and all that. Look, this is a perfect example right here. This is definitely something we wanted to kind of point out. Pirelli choosing the C2, C3, and C5 tire compound for this specific race. So, Vish, maybe you can kind of start off with kind of what is that weird? Why not go C2, C3, C4? What's the difference between a C4 soft, a C5? Talk to me a little bit about why they chose these specific tires.
Yeah, so first of all, it's happened before, but it is a little strange to skip a step. There is a C4, right. But essentially there's 5 compounds of tires. C1 is the hardest, C5 is the softest. And what you get on a weekend is 3 of those tires.
Right.
And they call them soft, medium, hard. But the soft this week might be the hard next week if they go with a different range. So it's not actually the same. Like, the hard tire is not always the same hard tire every week. So it is a little odd that they skipped a step. And I think the reason they did this is they're still trying. These are new tires, too. I think they're trying to get data on the tires. So they're like, let's do a wider range here. And we've seen both the first 2 races. I think the first race, the tires degraded a lot faster than everyone expected. They were thinking it's a 1, maybe 2 stop, and they're like, no, 3, 4, we need to keep pitting. Yeah. And then I think we saw a little bit of the opposite in Saudi Arabia. It looked like Hamilton could have driven on those hards the entire race, right? I mean, that lasted with pace. They put the hards on in Bahrain and, like, couldn't drive at all. Like, they were losing a second a lap. So I think they're still trying to figure out the tires to a certain extent, and that's why they skipped a step. It is kind of rare, but they always select a range for the soft through hard, and they call it soft and hard during the weekend, but it's not always the same tires because it's always they select the range ahead of time. Pirelli says these are the tires we're going to use,
Right.
and so it can vary. And I know a couple of years ago that when they did those back-to-back races in England, they actually switched the compounds, and Mercedes botched their strategy. And like, I don't know how you did that. Like, the medium this week was the soft last week. The soft didn't work. Why are you on the medium? It's the same tire. So like that's kind of what happens. It is kind of the range there. I mean, it used to be a lot more confusing. They had like ultra soft, super soft, and they had different names for it. So this is actually a little bit easier to follow. But the compound change. So my guess is for why they skipped a step in there is they're just trying to get more data on all these tires because they're trying to figure them out too. The teams are trying to figure them out, and by skipping a step, you get a wider range. The point on the new asphalt is true, although you never know how the cars are going to behave on new asphalt. Sometimes they don't rubber in correctly, and you end up with like everyone. Well, I mean, all Formula One drivers complain anyway, but you hear a lot of complaints about no grip. So I mean that could also happen, but it's usually better on degradation though, as Jack pointed out, when you get new asphalt in there because it doesn't really shred the tires as much.
Nick, you got anything on the the tires that they chose here for the race?
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to what Vish said. It's all about, I think, Formula One gathering, all the data that they have, especially with the new tires this year. I think, I think also they want to go soft or the softest tire because of all the DRS zones, and they want also probably to have more possibilities of overtakes throughout the entire race, and not just at the front, but also, in the rest of the top 10 and also the rest of the midfield as well. So I think that kind of correlates into it.
Real quick before we move forward, Manny, you got anything left on the tires?
No, I listen. I didn't really see it the way that Nick just did, but I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, if they're gonna race during a bombing, hey, why not? Let's make sure that these guys are racing on the most softest tires possible, so that guess what? There's more drama, more viewership, more competitive throughout the whole thing. Not only are you battling 1 through 4, 1 through 5 in the front, you got battles all the way throughout the top 10 in the middle because of it. Why not? I mean, this is Formula One, right? I mean, they just accepted $50 million from Vegas for a race, right? Why not? Let's just keep the money flowing.
I love how like Manny said during a bombing and he was being literal. Like there was literally a bomb going off in the background. They're like, no, we're still gonna do this.
It wasn't fireworks. It was a bombing.
It's like it was a literal bomb going off.
It looks like fireworks.
It definitely was that fireworks.
Oh man, I'm just gonna. Well, first of all, tomorrow's Thursday, right? So are we going to be able to see practice Thursday night, Monday morning? Or I'm sorry, Friday morning, or is it more Friday night? And
Are you saying us as we, or are you
us?
Saying you're going to stay up at 1 a.m. for this?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If we're going to stay up for the race, which we definitely are, by the way, we will have coverage for it.
Yes,
I need to catch up on the sleep, so no, I will not be watching.
Okay, so but 1 a.m. is when practice will officially start, right?
Yes.
1 a.m. Friday morning.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So, hey, listen. By the way, we are. Let's mention this now while we get at least the 10 viewers that are online right now or whatever it is. We are going to create. Hopefully, we're going to try to put this together. We're going to create a space, a Twitter space for F1 fans for the race. Okay, not necessarily for practice or for qualifying. Maybe for qualifying, we'll see if anybody has the gall to be up on Saturday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning to do Twitter spaces. But I know we're definitely going to do it for the race. As opposed to having a post race right after the race, we'll do it at either 10 a.m. or 11, I believe, on that Sunday morning as well. So we still will have a post race, but make sure you guys stick around for the Twitter space that we will have during the race, or right after the race, whichever one you guys want to do here. We'll make sure we'll announce it on Twitter as well, so you guys can check that out. Getting to Alex's question, right? I think that's what we want. Well, before we even get to that, let's finish up on Australia. Again, 4 DRS zones. All right, that's the last thing I wanted to mention on this. Are you guys okay with having 4 DRS zones in this race, or is it too much? I know it lends to the excitement of the overtakes and all that, but I don't know. Is 4 DRS zones too much?
So I guess before that, just to finish off the previous point, man, if you want to pull the schedule back up, there is actually a practice session tomorrow night, technically here. The first practice is at 11 p.m. It's kind of hard to see it on my screen. I think it's bigger if you're looking on YouTube. But so the practice 1s and 3 are at 11 p.m. So actually, technically, tomorrow night, 11 p.m. is practice 1.
Wow.
And then same thing Friday, practice 3 is at 11 p.m. with the qualifying in the race and practice 2 being.
I think I might be up tomorrow.
Yeah, I think
so that one might be, that one's like, it's like the two most worthless practice sessions. We're in on those. Qualifying in the race we might sleep through, but
Actually did so great in the last race.
We need qualifying anyway.
Yeah.
Not that important.
Hamilton did so great in practices 1 and 2 that 3 and 4 he just totally shit bottled. Like what?
Yeah, right. Something's bound to happen. So getting back to the DRS zones, how do you guys feel? Too many?
Yeah, I'm starting to. So it's been like from an F1 purist standpoint, people have been complaining about DRS zones for years. I actually did not, as someone who's been watching the sport for way too long. I actually didn't have a problem with it because to me it was counteracting the loss you get from just trying to follow someone. I thought the last 2 races where it was actually in a disadvantage to pass, I didn't like that. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I am overall fine with DRS like as a concept. To me, it does advantage the car that's behind, but you still got to be faster to overtake. It's not like it's not just going to make you overtake. But I think the mistake they made both the last 2 races is just immediate DRS zones, one right after the other,
right.
Where if you overtook in the first one, you were now disadvantaged in the second one. And it kind of, to me, crossed the line a little bit when both Leclerc and Max slammed on their brakes to try and be behind at the detection zone. Which is like, I mean, from a racing standpoint, no, you take the lead, right? But they both had realized at that point. I think in Bahrain, Leclerc frankly outsmarted Max and kind of knew, and Max kept going for it until he ruined his tires. But I think he had wised up by the second race. So the only ones I'm looking at is the first 2 zones might be a little consecutive.
Where are the detection zones? Because there's 2 of them, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It is the same detection zone, so in theory it would not cause that problem. So that's certainly better. I think if these cars are actually able to follow better and pass better, I think eventually we would get rid of DRS.
Sure.
If you can actually overtake, like it was impossible on the old cars. So, but I'm still okay with it overall. 4 zones feels like a lot. And you don't want it to become a farce, because one of the cool things with Formula One in relation to other racing is passing is really hard. It's an event, and if it becomes too easy, then it does lose a little bit of the luster.
Absolutely.
Vish, it's all about drama, right? It's all about keeping fans on the edge of their seat and seeing this new track layout and asking yourself, how many laps is this? 58, right? So 58 times you're going to have drivers when they go through turns 5 and 6. When they pass 6, they already know as they go through 7, 8, 9 through 11, listen, I can actually just, if I time this correctly during practice, if I actually time this well during qualifying, you're going to have a lot of guys just using turns 5 all the way through 11, trying to see how much they can push. Because when you have that straight 5 to 6, that little turn, and then we all know what 9 and 11 is now, I think that particular part of the track is really going to be defining to watch. See which are the drivers that push it, which are the ones that say, well, let me back it up and let me see if I can maneuver in another direction, or we're going to see a little bit of a mayhem. And that's what I'm not okay with. I don't like this whole, the way they turned it 9 and 10 already, when you already have a 5 and 6 turn straight away, and then you do a little loop and then straight down again. I mean, I get it, right? It creates excitement. It creates drama, and you want to see what the drivers want to do with it. I just don't think for safety purposes, it's not, I don't like it. I mean, that's basically overall.
Before we move on, just a couple more notes on the Aussie GP. Most wins by any driver is 4 for both Lex Davison and Michael Schumacher. And then most wins in the constructors, it's McLaren with 12 and Ferrari with 12. Hey, McLaren, what's going on? Maybe Ricardo in his home race.
We might see a
Bring
papaya.
little magic.
He's always been terrible in Australia.
I know, right?
Well, in
Poor
2018,
guy.
he finished fourth, though. He just
Okay,
missed
all right.
the podium.
That's not too bad.
That was his last year with Red Bull.
I was about to say that was in a Red Bull, man.
That wasn't McLaren, yeah. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, he finished fourth in a Red Bull.
They haven't raced there. They haven't raced there in what
2 years.
2 years. Yeah, and that's why also earlier when man was talking about Max's stats, that was not in the same Red Bull he's in now.
True.
No.
True. So, just a couple more stats there. 58 laps, as you said. 5.2 or almost 5.3 kilometers is the circuit length, and listen, it's going to be exciting, I think. So, what do we got next, Manny? Talk to me, brother.
I will say it does feel a little bit more Formula One-y. Like, I'm used to, I mean, this is just, as from an American's perspective, waking up, pulling the coffee out, being like, what the F time is it to watch Formula One? Having all these races at night, which means, like, it was at a real time here. I was like, doesn't feel like Formula One. Me with, like, trying to, like, throwing down coladas. That is Formula One for me, so I'm excited to get back to that.
Good point, Jack. Yeah, the energy store management now becomes a bigger part of the strategy. Save it for the end to avoid.
That's my point on how I don't like those turns 5, 6, and 9 through 11 or 1 is because we all know that you don't want to push it in the beginning. You want to just stay on pace. You want to be able to just hang out. Like you want to stay up there. And towards the end of this race, once the drivers already know, hey, listen, I have this here, I'm going to go for it. And I just don't want it to be a situation where somebody clips somebody in the back and here comes the yellow flag and our 1 and 2 guys all of a sudden can't race.
Well, if Latifi has some mechanical problems, we're probably in better shape. But if he's out there, man, things are going to happen.
I don't know what happened. I made a turn.
I don't know, man.
Well, this is why,
bro. If Ocon and Alonso want to go at it, just let them go at it at the beginning of the race. Like, pick these DRS sections and just go at it. Okay, whoever goes in front of each other first, that's it. No more.
Honestly, seeing them go at it like in the last race was actually quite entertaining.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was awesome. Which, by the way, brings me. So all of this kind of brings me to something that we first originally spoke about, Manny. Remember, practice, how important it is. I think for this race, being that it's a new circuit, right? It's a new, it's a new grid and all that. Plus, you got a new set, new tire compound, C2, C2, C3, and C5. I think practice is more important than ever right now, right? For them to understand not only how long they can go, but how much they can push on certain tires. So yeah, it's going to be important to see how they go through practice and how they perform. And then of course, at the end of the day, if some of those other teams can stick with Red Bull when it comes to qualifying, then I think it's going to be an exciting race.
And like Vish pointed out, normally this is the first race of the season. Now you have 2 weeks already into the season, plus a week off. So some of these top teams already know what their car is, what it looks like, what changes they're trying to make. And then you go ahead and add another DRS to a track where normally it becomes a track of many questions for the race car. Don't be surprised, man, when we have a lot of firsts that happen in Melbourne.
Oh yeah.
And they've had 2 weeks to they've got 2 races and now 2 weeks to make adjustments. So it'll be interesting to see who's kind of done. It's not a lot of time, but there was some time to do some stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
That's a great segue, Vish. Manny, some upgrades, right? Some of the teams that made some different upgrades. I don't know if you've got some of that info there, but I know that
I don't know if you want to call it upgrades or whatnot, because obviously we know that Mercedes is still working behind the scenes. But you kind of see here where they're still trying to figure out the whole purposing situations. But obviously, Mercedes' biggest thing right now is the wing adjustments. They're trying to reduce it, especially in the front part of it, so it doesn't flap so much. But again, you can kind of see there,
Yeah, you see the difference. You definitely see it.
Yeah, you definitely see it. But again, does that help? When you're trying to go faster on a straight ahead speedway, I don't know. That's why you use this new track with 4 DRS zones to try to figure that out. Maybe you find out more information, but I know this is not the full, the full new change that Toto wants yet, right? I mean, this is just a piece of the puzzle where they're trying to react and see what's the difference with this, and let's see how this reflects this. Now, if Hamilton struggles in qualifying, just like he did last race, I guess you really got to start realizing, hey, maybe, I'm not really sure, Vish, if you know the rules during an off week. Are you able to break down the car without you getting without it being said, well, that's their third time of the season doing that. You only have one more time, or
so there's a couple of caps they're going to run into. One is just cost. There's a cost cap, so you can't. Everything is very expensive.
And that wasn't the case in previous seasons, correct?
Correct.
All the teams now basically have a salary cap.
Last year they did some weird thing because of COVID. They didn't want a lot of development where you had like chips you could hand in that would let you. You could do like two of them, like two major changes, and you'd have to like cash in those chips. But this year there's the cost cap, and then the individual components are restricted. Like you can only use a certain number of engines before you start taking penalties and things like that. But I don't think that's where they're looking right now. So they can pretty majorly develop it. Depends on what's within the cost cap. Even just making the pieces is expensive, let alone like designing new ones. But I do think from Mercedes' perspective, I don't think they're looking at chucking their design concept yet. I think they believe that underneath this, if they can get some of the we talked about porpoising a lot, but some of their issues under control, I do think they believe they have a faster car, like that their concept was more aggressive and they're paying for it now, but when they get it right, it'll be at the front. And I think that's why you're seeing these like tweak this. They're trying to get it to work using their design concept because their car is very different from like what Red Bull and Ferrari went with. And even with all the problems, they are comfortably the third best team.
Yeah.
So I think they're thinking, if we can tweak this and get it right, we'll be at the front of the grid. So they don't want to throw all that out. Like, because frankly, what they used to do in F1 when there was no cost cap is they would just copy the other team's car. Like if you're one of the rich teams and you did something that didn't work, you would just, well, what's Ferrari doing over there? And you just build it. Because you'd have people working 24/7 and throw all this money out. You can't do that anymore. But in this instance, I don't think they'd want to do that anyway. I think they think this car there's a championship winning car in this package if we can get it right. And I think that's what they're trying to do now is how do we get this right?
Do you think that they can get to that point where they can truly compete with Ferrari and Red Bull this year?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be exciting. That would be fun.
And this is he's a little bit of a Mercedes fan. He loves McLaren. So the way that he answered when he said seriously, like, yes, that should give me hope, but I'm still nervous.
Well, I think the big
all
thing...
I heard this offseason was that this W13 was supposed to become some type of, new initiative / future, race car that, Lewis Hamilton leads. Right. And then obviously when you win all these championships in a row, there's a certain standard that most fans, from Mercedes have. And when you're hearing about, well, let's tweak the wing and let's change the exhaust, let's change some pipes, let's change the filters. Maybe that actually creates the change that the car needs. And you're just asking yourself, but none of these little small tweaks, you guys didn't see this coming? You guys didn't prepare? You guys... You know what I'm saying? Like,
you don't get a lot of practice time. Even your wind tunnel time is limited now. Like all this stuff, and apparently this porpoising thing you can't even recreate in a wind tunnel. So no, they didn't see it coming. They got on the track and like, what the hell is this? And that's actually one of the issues they're having trouble fixing it. It's really only track time. So the last I saw, they were trying to do a computer animation to try and recreate it on a computer, so that way they could tweak it.
That is hot.
Because even if you throw in your wind tunnel and it doesn't happen, right? Then you can't really simulate. So they're trying to simulate on a computer so they can then do the changes and try them out on the road. Because right now they're having to wait till the race weekend for it to occur to adjust to it, and that's why it's a slow go. But there's been there's been plenty of times where like big teams have gotten off to bad starts and by mid-season they're winning races. So that's what drove my answer more so than, I mean, I'm a McLaren fan, but I have a soft spot for Hamilton given his priors, and I am fairly confident he's the last McLaren driver I'm ever going to see win a championship. So, so there is definitely that affinity there. But like, no, I think they're right there, and I think it helps them a lot that Red Bull and Ferrari are fighting at the top. If there was one team winning every race, they'd be so far behind.
True.
But they're not. They're not even that far behind because Red Bull blew up in Bahrain. Like, they're somehow right in there, constructors-wise, despite the fact the car sucks.
Well, yes, Jack, I agree with you 100%, but also you can't blame Mercedes fans for feeling like this when Lewis Hamilton didn't qualify. He didn't, you know what I mean? Like, that hasn't happened since what, 2000 and what was it? 2008, 2009? That's unheard of. The best driver in the sport. Like, come on.
Yeah, but he's got to take some. They were talking about how they pushed the setup too far. He's got to take some ownership of that because George Russell did not have that problem.
No,
so I don't know exactly what happened there. Hamilton, I think, probably pushed the envelope a little too far and it caught him. But like that, to me, that was when you have that gap. Let me put it this way: if the other, we obviously know Hamilton. He's won a bazillion titles. He's probably the greatest driver ever. If the driver's performance had been reversed, it would have been like, man, Russell's blowing it.
Yeah.
But when it's the other way around, we're like, man, what did Mercedes do to Hamilton's car? But he kind of blew that qualifying, right? I mean, Russell comfortably qualified where he should have. So
I think it's just an anomaly for Lewis Hamilton and his career. Obviously, it happens once every 12 years. So I think we should just kind of let it go, and then we'll see how he does in this qualifying session. And, if he gets back into the top 10 or fights for into the top 6, then people will forget about the last race at Jeddah.
Yep. All right.
I mean, I think their target's 5th and 6th, right? I mean, they're way ahead of the back, and they're way behind Red Bull and Ferrari on pace. So
eventually, I know they want to fight for fight for podiums and all that, but if they can right now consistently get into the top 5, top 6, and like you said, hang around until they figure things out, or if they figure things out, then they have a shot at still being in the fight for the constructors.
I think it's going to be interesting because there's still some teams that still haven't made any adjustments, and I know or make any tweaks to their cars. But to Jack's point, obviously they're not the only car that are making changes. Obviously Red Bull as well. But there's let me blow that up because I can't see that. I can't see that.
I can't believe I missed this.
I don't see what that says.
So the FIA has uploaded a document on Lewis Hamilton's car having been randomly selected for post-race physical inspections at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and all inspected components were found to be compliant with the 2022 Formula One.
That's how they randomly steroid.
They qualify.
But that's just like a nonsense thing. They do that. They randomly select cars to inspect. So
it's like a player that hits 3 bombs in a game. They're gonna randomly select them to test them for steroids and drugs anyway.
Right.
So, it's kind of the same concept. Which, by the way, so speaking of that, right, and we'll kind of end here. There's some teams that still haven't made any changes, right? I know Ferrari has kind of like a 5-race plan where they're not going to touch the car until Imola, if I'm not mistaken. So there's going to be things like that. So you're going to see even the fastest cars like Red Bull and Ferrari, Mercedes, they're going to gradually get quicker, anyways. And it's still early in the season, so there's a lot of things going on. Manny, what do we got next here as we move forward?
You want to go to predictions before we move on?
You know what? Yeah, let's do that for the Aussie. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that way we can get to this article that actually Alex asked us, and I actually read it for about a minute or so, and I didn't even realize this was out. So it's definitely something that definitely.
Nick, we'll start with you then, man. Who do you got on the podium this week?
I got Max.
No, I did say Nick though. By the way,
you said Nick. Okay,
that's cool, man.
Go ahead, Nick. Sorry,
no, it's all good.
Intercepted your pass.
So rude, man.
You buried it like a Kareem Benzema header.
Patrick. Sorry. Go
ahead, Nick. By the way, I think that's a bot, but whatever.
Yeah. What's going on here, Manny? That's where you hit the block button there.
Yeah,
not on Jack. Jack's like the only one talking to us.
I just think it's hilarious. That's why I just put it up there.
I think I know Max will probably get on the podium. I think as a surprise, you might see George Russell get on the podium.
Give me a 1, 2, 3. Give me a 1, 2, 3. Go. Give me a 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. I'll go Max, Leclerc, Russell.
Max, Leclerc, Russell. Nice. Look at you throwing Mercedes in there. That's so sweet. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Well, another hot take prediction that I have.
Oh wait.
One more. Well, two more.
Fire them off.
I will have both McLarens in the top 10.
McLaren's top 10. All right.
Both papayas in the top 10. Okay.
All right. Vish. Well, I have it in order here. Vish, what do you got?
I'll go Checo.
Ooh, I like it. I think it's great. I like that.
Vish is taking my advice over here.
Yeah, I'll go Checo. Right. Checo first, Leclerc second, and Hamilton third.
Ooh.
I'm expecting carnage.
Yeah.
Not on pace. Let me put it this way, not on pace. I think there's going to be I think there's been a lot of dicing that has not resulted in contact. I think there's going to be a crash at the front this time.
Manny, what do you got?
Am I going to be the only one out of this panel that doesn't put Mercedes on the podium?
Probably.
Fuck me, bro.
No, that's not
excuse
true.
my French. Listen, I said it on this show, and I think Vish just clarified me. I'm gonna go with Checo, man. I think Checo redeems himself. To me, he's had the fastest Red Bull. I'm not saying that Max can't, that he can't win it, but to me, Checo's had the fastest car. So I'm gonna say Checo, Max, Leclerc.
Ooh, 1, 2 for Red Bull. Interesting.
Mercedes finishes both in the top 10. However, only one papaya and Haas in the top 10.
Haas, I think, will definitely have another strong showing.
Yes.
But I think it won't be Magnussen this time. It'll be Schumacher.
Oh, okay.
All right.
He'll get it for
I'm not sure Schumacher's good, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that Schumacher's in a little aisle of.
I think he might be. I think he might. Yeah, I know, but I think he might. I think last year he looked a lot better because he was driving with a teammate who has no business being anywhere near the sport. And I am curious. I mean, I don't, obviously, like you say, he's still a kid. I don't know that he's that good. I think obviously the name carries a lot of weight. Jazz mentioned his father earlier on this as most wins in Australia, right? But I don't know. Magnussen's a proper driver. Like, I think Schumacher's gonna have some trouble there.
I do think Schumacher, because of the legend of his father, he'll always have that chip on his shoulder to want to, be just as good. I mean, you can't really be just as good as him. He's a goddamn legend. But, even if you're like, Dale Earnhardt Jr. to Dale Earnhardt, kind of comparison, then, he'll still be loved.
Vish, question for you is quickly. Do you think Sonoda?
Don't worry about it, guys. I won't make my prediction at all. Don't worry about it. We'll just keep going.
We already know Leclerc, Sainz, and someone else. Like, there's no point.
There's no point of asking you guys.
Yeah, there's no point.
I'm just kidding.
You have Ferrari 1, 2, 3.
Just kidding, Jazz. Will you please give us your predictions?
All three of you can go F yourselves. How about that?
I even used the word please, and you told me to F myself.
Yeah, condescending prick that you are over here.
I can't dispute that. Sorry.
Now I'm not telling you guys.
Oh, come on!
I'm gonna keep it to myself.
No, say it.
I got Mac. I'm gonna go against my fandom, okay? And I'm going Max, Leclerc, and Checo.
Okay.
This sucks though, man, because I thought Carlos Sainz was gonna have.
He's still doing well. I mean, he's racing well, but he's not.
I think
but
I don't know how many times Carlos can be finishing Charles Leclerc. And not really
I was seeing an article that Red Bull's actually frustrated with Sainz driving because he thought he would be more at the front competing with Leclerc, and then hopefully them taking away points from each other. And that hasn't been
and as we've seen, Nick, that has not been the case at all. Charles Leclerc has been
the quickest. Yeah, he's been like miles ahead of them, like by 3-4 tenths of the lap.
I will say, if as Alex posted a few minutes ago, if it's Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen, Perez is going to have an accident, and all of a sudden, you need to manage your tires, or down on power.
Can we have
I'm losing power
between Ferrari and drivers and Red Bull so early?
Yeah. Why do you think Ricardo left? Because even when he was beating Verstappen, they're like, yeah, no.
By the way, you saw the report that he said he might retire? I don't believe that at all.
No, I don't think he's going to.
And who's going to retire?
Ricardo.
Oh, Ricardo.
I could actually sort of see that, or have him move. Like if this is it for him,
he wants to race in Vegas.
Yeah, but if this is it for him, like I mean, what is he building towards? If he's not going to if McLaren's not going to improve the car, I think the hope was McLaren would be more competitive than it is, right? If they're not going to get up into that like battling for race wins, what is he, as someone who's won a lot of races, doing?
I think with that, I think there's more time to evaluate, that decision. It's a little too early to predict that, he's going to retire at the end of the season. I would say maybe after like 5-6 races, if they're still at the back of the pack as far as like performance, then he might consider it.
All right, Manny, what do we got left?
All right, so we're going to get to this article right here that Alex kind of mentioned to us. I'll put it up for you guys right now. We can all read it together. All right, so Brown urges Monaco Grand Prix to up its game. So funny though, guys. We did talk about a little bit of this in our last show last Wednesday when we actually broke the news that Formula One was heading to Vegas, right? So we see these new tracks and how they're constructing, and then all these other things. We know that the Monaco track has been one of the most historic sites in all of Formula One for years, right? But then we've always said it could be one of the most dangerous ones. So this article actually came out on April 3rd. Obviously, I'm not signed on to this little part here, so we can just read part over here. So basically, the McLaren Racing CEO thinks that Monaco Grand Prix purposely to add the glamour is fading, so it needs to offer something more for it.
I did read that.
One.
Yep.
Yeah, so there you go. So one more thing, the Monaco Grand Prix is one of the most iconic stops in Formula One on the calendar. In fact, the first staging in 1955. So again, I mean, this is
the drivers live there too, right?
Well, I mean, to avoid taxes, but like I mean, I think so. It has the historical significance. The race itself is pretty bad. Like it's very difficult to overtake. So I think when he talks about from a spectacle standpoint, everyone that's at the race is like the glitz, the glamour, this is amazing. And everyone watching at home is like, this sucks. Because you don't get that feeling. And I think that's kind of what he's going at. I'd be surprised if it ever, got taken off the calendar just because of the historical significance. But as a race, I mean, it's not an entertaining race. They don't donate the money, which matters. It's like Vegas buying a Grand Prix. Like, Monaco's not really putting that kind of money for it. So I understand what he's saying. I do think history matters. But as a spectacle, like, it is really just, you're going there because it's Monaco. Because the race stinks, and the track isn't great. It's almost impossible to overtake.
Right.
And for fans watching at home, it's not an entertaining race. It is for people there, right? You get the spectacle of being at Monaco, but I mean, and then the other thing, and actually Alex is touching on this a little bit, is you can't adjust the track there. Just like at Australia, they took out a chicane and made it a straight to fit it to the more modern car. You can't do that in Monaco. There's no room. So these cars are much bigger than they used to be. Which, I mean, it was never like that entertaining a race, but now it's a parade.
Yeah.
And it's not
and
entertaining.
then pretty much once you get out in front, like on the first lap, like unless something happens to your car, then you're pretty much staying there for the rest of the race.
Yep. I don't know, man. Manny, you got some time, or are we?
I actually found the article on ESPN. Thank you, Alex. And we also have some comments here. Of our main man, this Stefano here, talking about the Vegas race. I'm not sure if you guys want to hear it real quick to kind of get perspective on why he chose Vegas and things like that, which I'm pretty sure this is why the Monaco thing is even huge, right? Because now you're moving to another city. Obviously, the money's a big thing, but also Monaco does bring in the money, but as Vish said, it's not a part of the world where everybody says, "Oh, I want to go to," right? Unless you have a yacht sitting right there on the bay, or you have a home nearby, or a whatever. It's like it's not really something that you want. So,
well, I think it's the other way around. I think people want to go there.
Okay.
Yeah, people want to go there and they want to experience Monaco, but
there's no space though.
The race itself sucks, right? The race itself is
there's no space, and you can't afford it.
Right. Let me go ahead and play this real quick. Let's see what he says.
All over the world, clamoring for your product. Why Vegas?
Well, actually, first of all, let me share this moment that is special for the Formula One community here in the US. I mean, to be in the strip is something unique, as you know, far better than me. I think Vegas has all the ingredients to make sure that Formula One is keeping the growth path that we are living today in US. From Austin to Miami this year, that will be a huge and spectacular event. We're going to be in Vegas in 2023. The right place, right? As I said during the press conference, the right place to be, because we feel that we cannot be out of it. I mean, the intensity, passion, lights, energy, emotion. Well, this is Formula One.
Well, he didn't say anything about the Monaco. I thought he was going to. But the article goes down to say right here. So basically, here we go, where he says, Monaco has always stood for the most glamorous part of Formula One. I think Miami, Singapore, Las Vegas are starting to add some pretty glamorous markets. Think Monaco needs to come up with the same commercial terms as other Grand Prix, and also maybe needs to work with ways they can adapt their track, because as our cars have become bigger, the racing has become more difficult. We've been saying that. Vish has been saying that for years.
Yeah, I just don't know how much they can do.
But that is true, though. It's a very small, tight window of space, and how much can you improve these things that he wants, makes it more glamorous, and then he compares it to cities like Miami, Vegas, and Singapore. Monaco has a tough task ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the big thing, I mean, the only thing they cares about is the first thing he said, which is the financial package.
Oh, of course, money.
I mean, we're sitting here racing in Saudi Arabia with bombs going off, but there it is, right? I mean, it's not.
And then he says this, Vish, I'd rather have Monaco than not, but just like the sports is bigger than any other driver or team, I think it's bigger than any other Grand Prix.
Yeah, my guess is he's trying to extort money out of them.
Vish, I'm going to say your racetrack sucks, but it's historic. Let's go.
Well, I don't think anyone thinks like Monaco's a. I mean, I'd be shocked if anyone's like, yeah, that's my favorite race because of the racing. Like the racing is not good. I mean, it isn't, but I mean, he just. I don't know. As a exactly that's my opinion on this. This is all, give us more money. Give us more money. I mean that's what it is. It's always about that with Formula One.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, there you go. That's all. That's pretty much.
We got anything else? Well, look, I'll tell you this much. I know we were going to try. Oh,
you want to see the
talk a little bit about
Miami? Yeah, the Miami one?
I mean, if we got some time, we can definitely do that. But I know we've got a couple races before Miami. We really don't have that many races, right? There's, 2 before Miami? There's Australia. What else? What's after Australia? Do you guys remember? I have it here. I have it pulled up here.
Yeah, it's Italy and then Miami.
Italy and Miami.
Yeah, so, we're on a 2-week cadence now versus like the back-to-back. So yeah.
So if you want, I mean, we can do that, or we can kind of preview Miami a little bit later. But as it develops a little bit. But
I think it for later.
Yeah, Miami's going to be exciting.
Yeah, because we still have one more race to go.
Yeah. So we can do that. That's fine.
I think Miami will be talking about all sorts of stuff around that Miami race. That's
yeah.
There's a lot of mixed reviews on that, and yeah, the Miami Gardens.
Like I'm saying, we just got to talk about glitz and glamour and Walmart parking lot. The Walmart parking lot.
You ain't lying, but within there, it's its own little world. So it's gonna be.
Let's go eat at Denny's.
It's gonna be fun. I'd rather eat a Sonic, baby.
Sonic.
Get a milkshake while you wait, while you see them pass by.
Oh, pit stop! Max Verstappen wants that shit.
I don't think they're gonna have to worry too much about that.
Hey, that would actually be a good commercial. Not gonna lie.
We should get them as a sponsor. Anyways, Yeah, I guess what we'll do then is we'll definitely have a post qualifying show. We'll try to do something along those lines. Make sure you guys check us out on Twitter for all the latest updates on that. We'll also work on creating a Twitter space for the race itself, so you guys can check us out there and we can talk and everybody can hear each other's voice. I think it'll be fun to do a little Twitter space for all the F1 fans for the Australian GP, since it is, after hours.
Get the Cuban coffee out, and should be good to go.
Definitely, for sure.
We as a Miami society are set up for this.
Oh, we should be all right. Yeah, that's the time that everybody actually starts getting.
Yeah, this is we're ready to go for this one.
Start setting up for the club at 1 a.m.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like this is
if anybody else wants to join me on the turnpike the day of the race, just let me know. All right, I would definitely be there.
If anybody wants to join me inside,
screw you.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Oh yeah,
I got a couple tickets. If anybody is interested in going.
I mean, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, so I mean, if you're paying for plane tickets,
what the hell, dude? You haven't even asked me.
You got to pay for them.
That's fine.
He put a price. He put a price in our chat. You can go. You can scroll back up on it.
I put it in the chat and everything. I put it in the chat.
A little bit.
You can't bet with me. It's not my tickets. Anyways, guys, check us out. Make sure. Oh, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about our sponsor before we go anywhere, right? I think it's important to name our sponsor. Again, YouBreakWillFix.com. Obviously, we really appreciate them. YouBreak Will Fix repairs damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof within the house. They do powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, such as Vossen, Forgiato, Fuel, Off-Road. They now even offer no credit check financing, up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. Fast turnaround times on all repairs, and they even provide loaner wheels in many cases. So you break Wheel Fix is your total automotive wheel solution, located in North Miami, right off of Biscayne Boulevard and Northeast 146th Street. Make sure you check them out. As they do some of their greatest work all across social media, from Instagram to Facebook. Their social media handle is at You Break Wheel Fix. So it's the letter U, break wheel as in the actual wheel, fix, or online at youbreakwheelfix.com. You can also give them a call, 305-748-0112, and schedule your appointment today. You Break Wheel Fix, changing the way you see wheels. Thank you guys for joining us on the show. Make sure you tune in. Keep it locked on Twitter for the latest on what we're going to be announcing for the Australian GP, as far as what kind of shows and coverage we'll have. But you make sure you can check us out there. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons. And always subscribe to the podcast. We'll post the podcast link later on tonight as well, so you can check that out. And thank you for support. We truly appreciate it. A la Madrid. And as we all like to say,
yes.
A la Nike, because I'm the one without a jersey.
Jesus Christ, you should have taken him off the feed there for a second, Manny.
Just for that, I hope Papaya doesn't even make it to the podium.
Hey,